Dr. Amin Sanaia is a seasoned leadership expert, executive coach, and creator of CRAVE Leadership Methodology. With over 25 years of experience in leading operations as an executive, Dr. Amin combines practical leadership strategies with cutting-edge neuroscience through his specialization in NeuroLeadership. Dr. Amin is a published author whose work includes his book, Empower Your Leadership, Communication, and the CRAVE Method, which is available on Amazon. From Aspiring to Inspiring, the Art of Sustainable Leadership Programs, which is published on the Journal of Applied Leadership and Administration, and the Neuroscience of Communication, which is featured in Psychological Today. His CRAVE framework, centered in communication, respect, authenticity, vulnerability, and empathy, has empowered countless leaders to build trust, foster collaboration, and drive organizational excellence. A certified master neuroplasticien, Dr. Amin is passionate about equipping leaders with science-backed tools to elevate team performance and transform workplace culture. Beyond these professional achievements, his inspiring journey from Dominican Republic to becoming an executive leader reflects his resilience, adaptability, and commitment to empowering others. Dr. Amin, he's also a leaderologist with the National Leaderology Association, known as the NLA. Let's put our hands together and welcome Dr. Amin to the show. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Listen,
it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to be here, man.
It's a pleasure to have you. I know you and I are kind of going back and forth. I've been stalking a little bit on LinkedIn. We've been connected for quite some time. I know looking back, you actually did a thought leader series of one of the newsletters that I put out there. You did an amazing job, and there was all kind of positive response coming out of that. So I was like, this is a guy I have to record a podcast with. So I think this is going to be even better than the newsletter. And that's why I'm excited to have you, man.
Hey, man, thank you for thinking of me. It's always humbling for me. I wasn't always the type of person that likes the spotlight and likes to be on camera. But when you are your brand, guess what? We
got to be there. So listen, you and I, we can spend about 15 minutes just going behind the scenes about what you're going to talk about before you jump on this podcast. And I was like, I can't wait for this episode to come up because what you were sharing with me, the world needs to know. So before we jump into all the juicy meats and pieces of your story, first start out personally, man. Who are you? Introduce yourself to the world.
Sure. So first and foremost, I'm just a blessed child of God, and I'm so get this opportunity to be in front of an audience. I want to make sure that I start with that. Faith is very important to me. I can say a few things. I'm an experienced executive leader for many years, but the core of what I do is about people. So I want to start off with first guiding principle, which is loving people, loving self. I discovered that through my journey, which we'll get into in a little bit. I learned that in leadership, it's all about people. That's what we do. And if you're not about people and you're trying to be in that space, you better find something else to do.
So in your bio, you mentioned Dominican. So I take it you're Dominican. Is that correct?
Absolutely. I was born in Dominican Republic. Even though people see my name and associate it with being from another part of the world.
Right.
I get that all the time. But I was born in Dominican Republic. It's my heritage. I love the country. I lived there for about 7-8 years before we had to move to the United States. And I'm so thankful for the opportunity that the United States has given me and my family and allowed me to flourish.
So professionally though, you've been on this growth and aspiration, and now you're author, and you got several books and articles that are out, and you got this training course to help people with their leadership development. So professionally, how did that get started, man? How did this professional journey start for you?
It started, I guess, in my teens. I volunteer at a retirement community, and at that time, being a young adult, I still didn't know exactly what I wanted to do with my life. Now I know a little bit of what I want to do with my life. I still don't know exactly what, but I'm juggling with seeing a little bit of, really what I make a career, and volunteering at this retirement community, spending time with, I believe, our country's greatest generation. Really, I found my place. I found what I was called to do. So spending with people that impart a lot of knowledge, a lot of wisdom on me, I decided that I wanted to be a healthcare executive for the rest of my career, and I did that for many years. Funny that starting back then and now thinking about it, I have a lot of friends, but my circle is very small, and one person that's part of my circle is actually a 91-year-old, because I just connect with people that have that history and they have so much of wisdom to give. So that connection started back in my teens, and even like today, I'm years old, and one of my best friends is a 91-year-old.
I picked up on the fact you said the greatest generation. Why do you? And you're not the first person that I've heard that from, but why do you think people call that the greatest generation?
Man, they went through a lot, so look at, they went through multiple world wars. They went through Great Depression. They've gone through so many advances, the industrial advance, the tech. I mean, because to go through that, live through that as well. I mean, later years, but they went, I mean, and in a place, I would say, in the world with AI. That we're going through that, and people are scared, I'm going to lose my job. Well, these people went through that multiple times. So if you want to know how that feels, go speak to one of them. They'll impart knowledge with you. And because they have such great history of everything that they lived, those, you can learn so much from that, man. I mean, if you had the opportunity, you probably should.
Get that. I respect that too. And I totally agree. And I never really thought about what you just said, like us as going through it now with this transition with AI. I guess as we look back, people can probably say, you know what, the greatest, I guess, for our time and what we've had to go through. Because you and I are similar age, right? So I remember we used to put the freaking dimes in the phone box, and to make phone calls like that. And then we went through the pagers and cell phones in your car, and you used to pay per minute and all that good stuff. So technology has been advanced, and we've had to kind of grow, together. It's amazing. So hopefully one day we can say we're part of the greatest generation.
Yep, absolutely.
Man. All right. So a lot of people, they get on the show and they like to talk about like their hustle. And I like you to talk about the hustle journey too, because what I'm trying to help other people do is inspire them to achieve a level of success they've never achieved before. But oftentimes they need to realize that path to success is never straight. Oftentimes we got to go over hills and underneath, we got to crawl on our legs and knees and the whole nine. So I'm excited to really understand more about your hustle journey. And that goes from you coming up as a young lad to where you are now. You cool with sharing that with us?
Absolutely, man. Well, I mean, you're part of, and you read that as you were reading my bio, is my leadership model, CRAVE. And the R in CRAVE is respect, and the V in CRAVE is vulnerability. And those two things I've had to really, I mean, all with those two I had to really lean on to be able to tell my story a lot of times. So I was born in the Dominican Republic. My mom was a university professor. My dad was president of the largest labor union there. And we lived, by where we're very rich, but we lived very nice. I can't complain about that. And at that time in the 70s, my dad, being in charge of the labor union, he was trying to get benefits for a lot of their employees. And a lot of these employees worked for the government. They had no benefits. It was like back in the 1920s, 30s here, there's labor laws and were being enacted. Or that was the 70s in the Dominican Republic. So during that time, it got really heated. And my dad was pretty much asked by the government to, kind of this contract, and here's your payout, but just take your contract and go away. And my dad, man of integrity, And that's what I've shaped my life. And to being an integral person, did not take the payout. Because he didn't take the payout, we had to leave. So we were essentially exiled from our country and moved to New York City.
How old were you around this time?
I was 8 years old.
Okay.
My late brother was 9 and my sister was 5. So we go from living a very nice lifestyle to going to New York City, strange place, strange culture, language, and to move in, live in an apartment, very small apartment, roach infested. And, life got real. Oh my God. So that was the first shock. Second, going to school. At that time, it's not like going to school now, where if you come to this country, you are able to take classes that help you adapt to the country. No, we didn't have English as a second language. We didn't have all these other things that are available today. So I had a pocket dictionary. And that's how I had to, me, my late brother, and my sister, we had to figure it out, like quickly. You had to learn language quickly. We were not ready for that. And I remember, man, like vividly being embarrassed getting out of a class because the teacher would call on you and you didn't have it. But I didn't know the language, so I didn't know what to do, and then kids laughing at you. That was hard, man. That was hard.
That sounds hard.
Yeah. Then my dad had an accident, so he became disabled for life. My mom went from being a university professor to go working in a sweatshop. Life was hard, man.
And you talking about a real 360-degree change. I mean, you go from middle class, somewhat well-to-do family in Dominican Republic to now you're relocating the entire family whose first language is not English. And then you go to one of the biggest metropolitan locations in the United States. And now you got to figure out how to live, how to communicate, and just how to be, just accepted at this point. I'm understanding, right?
Well, you didn't have a choice. And then to make matters about where we lived, it was in Washington Heights in New York City, Manhattan. If you look at Washington Heights in the 80s, if you look that up, it's one of the worst cities in the United States. I mean, it was hard. Where we lived, the lords, everyone that was my age, that we were growing up there. Other than my cousins and a few friends, the majority of them dead or in jail because there was really no way out other than to trouble.
Exactly.
So I'm glad that our parents, they raised us to be able to get out of that and learn and persevere. So all of that, I mean, all those situations, there were countless situations. If for the audience, for whoever is listening, if you've been that and in that era in the 80s in New York City, you're welcome to New York City. It's you being at gunpoint or with a knife. It happened to me twice.
You know what? I didn't even think about that either. I mean, because one, it was already enough that your country that you're familiar with and your new country, but you're moving at the most unopportune time because drugs was freaking outrageous. You remember they had that little war on crime, the whole nine. Yeah. During the 80s, I would say out of 10 people, 8 of them was like stressed out with crack or heroin and drugs. It was crazy.
Yeah, it was real, man. It was real. So that's from that. But all that, we had a choice. Right. I had a choice. Are you going to fight or just going to become a statistic and just whatever? I know that this is the way I'm going to grow up. I'm so thankful to my parents because they raised us properly with the right values to do good, not do bad. All that, every period of my life has shaped who I am, and perseverance, resiliency, never give up. I have all the stuff to lean on, so that's me every day. I remember telling myself this, and I always remember that when times get tough, because life never just, you're always on top. You're going through life and you have different things going. Telling myself that this moment that we're living right now, that's never going to happen to my family ever again.
Honestly, as a kid, did you believe that? The belief of yours. Okay. So I moved family, don't speak the language. It's the epidemic, the drug epidemic. English is not your first language, not outside of English. Another language basically wasn't taught in school. At any point, did your family ever think about just giving up, man?
Oh, I'm sure. But I never heard that. Some nights we didn't have, my parents, the best they could with what they have. Man, I wouldn't change any of it because it shaped me for who I am today, the man that I am. And I am glad that I went through that experience. Yeah, that's my life. That's the cards that so guess what?
Cards.
You play your cards. So when I hear, I like mentorship. It's a big part of so I mentor young professionals as much as I can. And I hear some kids, making, I won't say making up, but using their crutch that had it rough, or I grew up in a rough neighborhood, or I came from a broken home. I was glad I didn't have a broken home. I mean, the stack, me and my family, you always have.
Absolutely.
You always
chose
have
differently.
So
let me ask you this. At what point, I guess, we fast forward a little bit, you became an executive or healthcare executive, right? And then an advocate for leadership development. At what point did that come about? Like in your head, you like, okay, I'm just going to be an executive at this point.
Well, when I volunteer at the retirement community, I decided that, how do I impact these people's lives? So I to that business. I started as a business office manager, then I'm an administrator, and then eventually, different positions as executive. But that's how I got into the industry, and I grew. Again, it's not the easiest that I took, but I can vividly remember my first leadership position.
Tell me about it.
First leadership position. You're a young leader. I thought I knew everything. I was ready, gung ho. I got my bachelor's degrees. My first week, I knew I was a complete failure. 100%. I had the wrong mindset. I was not prepared professionally, not the right educational background either. So it was a moment of reflection. I had to really deep and think about, man, what did I get into? What the hell I got into? As I reflected, I said, talk to people successful. So I started reaching out leaders, and I was blessed to be able to find a mentor. Then I had to pay for a coach.
Right.
I had to pay for workshops. I decided to further my studies, and also reading, something we don't do in this country, unfortunately, enough.
Right.
Reading, you have to read. So you have to take self-responsibility and really shape yourself to, if you really, whatever your aspirations are, you have to take, a job is not going to do that for you. Sure. Rarely someone's just going to come out of the blue and say, hey, come, I'm going to take you under my wing and I'm going to, help you. No, find the people that are successful in what you ask them to mentor you and take it seriously.
I was going to say, so what I'm picking up on is, one is the self-accountability. The other thing too is that investment into yourself. Not only were you seeking a mentor, but you started out by going to school, you got your bachelor's degree, you continue to learn more about the healthcare industry and different roles and opportunities. And then from there, you ended up getting or connecting with a mentor because you realized during your first leadership position that you just didn't have it together. Like you wasn't fully prepared for it.
Oh, wait. One of the things that I talk to when I consult with organizations, you'll find out a lot in every organization is that you have A players. So your best employees, just because they're great at what they do, they're specialists, doesn't mean that they're going to be great at being a leader. They can, if you prepare them, if you give them the proper training. What happens in most organizations is that, hey, you're great at what you're doing, so now we're going to promote you from doing the job to overseeing the people that do the job, but then we're not going to give you any training, and you're going to have to figure it out. That's hard, man.
That is hard. But that's what companies they're like, especially with the culture, the way it feels today. If then I'm going to hire you to do a job, and then as a manager, I'm going to be hands off. I'm going to let you do the job, but there's no more mentoring, hand holding, coaching, development of people, right? It just feels like, okay, you're set up to fail.
Exactly.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, I mean, they have a responsibility for development, but you have a responsibility that if you're going to take on a role and that role, part of your role is to lead people, then you need to, in order to be successful, you need to invest in yourself.
Listen, if you guys are just tapping into the podcast today, we have a very special guest. We got Dr. Amin Sanaia. He's a seasoned leadership expert, executive coach, and creator of CRAVE Leadership Methodology. He has over 25 years of experience leading operations as an executive. Dr. Amin, he combines practical leadership strategies with cutting-edge neuroscience through his specialization in NeuroLeadership. And so we're just getting good. We're digging into his background, learning a little bit about him personally, professionally, some of the setbacks and struggles that he had to overcome and face. And now we're kind of digging into the next question for me is, what do you think if you hadn't found healthcare, what do you think you would have been doing?
Oh man, that's a question. So it's funny because growing up as a little kid, I thought I was going to be an engineer for whatever reason. I have no idea. I'm not great with my hands, so I don't know how good that would have ended up being. But that's what was on my mind for why. I don't even remember. I'm sure there was a reason or why I wanted to do that. But that's what I was thinking. But as life and we had to move and everything else in my life, I mean, the last thing I was thinking about is what I would do when I grow up. It was, how do I survive tomorrow?
Right. So today, doctor, and you're not a medical doctor, right? I want to clarify, right?
No, I have a doctorate in leadership.
Doctor in leadership. I didn't even know that was a thing. So tell me more about that and what inspired you to even want to get that.
So after my first experience in being a leader, I exposed mentorship workshops, and I went back to school, got my master's, and just I was craving I wanted to learn more. I wanted to do more. And I wanted to reach the pinnacle of my of what I do, and I wasn't going to do that. Got a PhD or a doctorate, and I did it. I went for it. It took me a while to find the right school, but it worked out. And again, it's not linear. I didn't just now I'm a leader. I invested in myself, and then executive, and then I became a doctor. It was roller coaster ride. You go through the ups and downs of you're balancing your professional and personal aspirations, and until you figure out that good balance, it's rocky.
Yeah. Right. So at what age were you at this where you decided I'm going to pursue my doctorate?
In my 40s. Yeah. I mean,
in your 40s.
Yeah. You I needed some kind of wanted to project out and project, hey, if I get a doctorate in this is what I can do with it. It was no longer of like, oh, I'm just going to go to school and get a that's it. No, it's projecting, if I get a doctorate in this is what I do. And furthermore, it also allowed me the process of start being a published author. And those are things that I really wanted to do because I want to share my experiences. But I want to share my experiences with facts, research-backed information, not being just, I'm just going to write papers here and there. That wasn't the goal. I wanted to be able to a research project and then document it correctly and being able to publish it. So all of that played into going back to school and obtaining my doctorate.
Listen, I mean, again, that's only a reflection, but that's continuing to yourself. And again, in your 40s, you decided to pursue your doctorate degree and you achieved it. So let me ask you this, and this is a personal question. I guess all these questions are, and it's somewhat fun. You can, take it how you want it. But the question is, so man, you're a doctor. Do you care if outside of work, people don't call you doctor, they just call you your first or your last name, or do you take that type of way? How do you feel about that?
Everyone that knows me calls me by my first name. I don't take it, as like I use that's my brand. That's Dr. Amin. That's my brand. So right. that's how professional people meet. I'm a humble guy. Grew up in New York City.
Going. You're like, man, live life, man. I'm not even worried about how you.
Yeah, it's not that serious.
Yeah, got it. So what exactly do you day, man? Tell me more about that.
Yeah, so I part of the process as I went through, I'll give you a good foundation so that you understand what I did today.
Okay.
As I was doing my doctorate, I knew exactly what I wanted to do with my doctorate, so it wasn't like I'm going to go there now. Let me figure out my thesis and what am I going to do research on. No, I had it clear because of my experiences at work. I had started some research in looking at what values make a leader successful. And through my dissertation, I found that communication, respect, authenticity, vulnerability, and empathy are values a lot of successful leaders have and that you need to be successful as a leader. So I use all those my research and during that time of my doctorate to validate those different points, and then use that as a bridge to writing my book right after graduating and my dissertation. Let's go back to your question though.
Yeah, please. Which question was that? Which one was about the what exactly you do today?
Yeah. So foundation I was going to do, okay, and coaching, but based on research. So it's research based. So one of the things I will say in the last 4 or 5 years, especially during the pandemic, all of a sudden you have a group of thousands of gurus, 20-year-olds that are call themselves coach consultants. That's not real. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So part of what I did was I was going to be grounded in facts. I wanted to make sure that I did the work, the base, and everything that I was going to use for my basis in my work and during coaching and consulting was going to be research based. So nowadays, that's what I do. I use my CRAVE methodology to impact organizations so that, number one, they can retain their top talent. Number two, they have operational excellence, and they go hand in hand. It's not something that, you can have one or the other. And then three, I add on the neuroscience to my leadership methodology, which that's when I started my work on NeuroLeadership. And NeuroLeadership is the application of neuroscience principles to leadership practices. So I integrate NeuroLeadership insights into my CRAVE framework. And these rooted in neuroscience and empower leaders to create psychological safe environments, something that is much needed nowadays. We use it to improve team performances and drive organizational growth.
Listen, you threw out a couple of words that I've never heard before until today. Like, I was reading your bio and I was like, a certified master. What? Huh? I never heard that, right? And I've been in leadership for quite some time. So I want to know, is neuroscience leadership really a thing, or is those are just buzzwords to make people really just kind of want to dig in more in what you're doing?
Oh, absolutely. It's a real deal. So if you look up the MPN Hub, which is the Neuroplasticians Network Hub, we're an international association through certification where we talk about neuroplasticity. So for many years, prior to the last 10, 15 years, we're always taught that, your brain is shaped when little, and that's it. Your brain is your brain. Right. That's false. Your brain adapts to your experiences and the way you learn. You reshape brain every day.
And I mean, I guess, go ahead.
And then neuroplasticity side, brain is reshaped all the time.
So helping people like reshape their brains so they can be a more effective and communicable.
Great question. So in my work, part of the NeuroLeadership is providing you with tools that are going to help you adapt your new style so that you can be successful. For example, one of the things that I do early on when I'm doing my coaching is that I take leaders and we create daily habits of things you're going to do in order to reshape your brain so that you can function properly. Number one is having the time in the morning for you to prepare your day.
Okay.
So in the morning, my phone is somewhere. You shouldn't grab your phone. Most people, that's what they do. They grab their phone.
First thing
in the morning. That is so bad. The first thing you should do when you get up is grab a glass of water, drink some water. Research has shown that a glass of water helps your neurons get going. Okay. Then you're going to do either some sort of meditation, if you or learn that, and positive affirmations for your day, preparing your mind mentally to so that during your day your mind is for them. Okay. And then the other piece of it is how you your day. Teach that. And every single person that I've worked with would validate this. I mean, it changes them. It changes the way they are, not only professionally, but because what happens is that we go through life from very little to when we get to being a teenager, adults. Mm-hmm. So when we're little, we're always adventurous. We're trying different things, right? And our parents are like, stop that, don't do that, you're gonna get hurt. Right. So we are teaching our brains that danger, limit yourself. So your creativity as you get to teenager and adulthood, it becomes no longer, your subconscious already is driving you to stay away from this, don't do this, don't do that. You have to retrain your brain in order for you to be successful so that you can have that creativity. So you have to reprogram your brain by daily want to be, instead of being that person that's your subconscious that's telling you don't do that or you're gonna fail. What's gonna happen?
So let me ask you this: if I connected with you as an individual or as an organization, right, and I say, hey, Dr. Amin, I'm looking to advance and improve my skills as a leader. Some of the things that you talk about in your CRAVE model is that communication. You talk about respect. You talked about vulnerability, empathy, authenticity. If you and I connected, how long is this going to take me to kind of reshape my brain to develop these new habits and then to some, I guess, implementing some of these tools and that you teach?
Great question. So it takes, us at least 21 days to create a new habit, right? I would say it takes about 30 days for you to actually start seeing, some really positive results if you actually do follow for the CRAVE Mastery program, for my program. Now for organizations, work on the also do consulting where we do operational excellence, and depending on what I'm asked to work on, you'll get results 30, 60 days.
So it's not like this is a 6-month or a year-long course. You're telling me within 60 to 90 days, I can implement some of the framework that you work on through that CRAVE leadership development course that you have. And I could basically develop new habits and skills that can position me to impact my team or my organization.
100%, yes.
And say less, man. Say less. Let's go. Let's go.
Do this.
That's just the self-development too. I mean, you're pouring back into yourself.
Yeah, but also remember, not a one-time deal. I'm not trying to tell you something for years. Sure. But what I'm saying is that once you develop these habits, you have to continue them. And then you also have to look at, once, we're done with that process. Right now you have got surroundings. You have to look at your circle. If you're in a circle where the people in your inner circle are not bringing something to you, they're not helping you develop in a certain way,
right?
You're going to have to change that next.
Change the circle, yeah.
You have to change that next. So I mean, at age, I do have a coach and mentor.
Okay, here.
It doesn't stop. It doesn't stop. It doesn't stop. I mean, if you want to really continue to grow and really see things from, you need that. You have to surround yourself with people to pour into you and that you're going to pour into them.
That's good stuff. So really quick, If you're just joining the show, we're blessed. We have Dr. Amin. He's a published author whose works includes his book, Empower Your Leadership, titled and CRAVE Method. He also has From Aspiring to Inspiring, The Art of Sustainable Leadership Programs, which is published in the Journal of Applied Leadership and Administration, as well as The Neuroscience of Communication, which is featured in Psychological Today. His CRAVE framework, centered on communication, respect, authenticity, vulnerability, as well as empathy, has empowered countless leaders to build trust, foster collaboration, and drive organizational excellence. So I got a question here around that CRAVE, because again, it's communication, respect, authenticity, vulnerability, and empathy. Is there any one of them that's greater than the other that really needs to be redefined and worked on more so than the other?
I've had that question so many times.
Yeah.
I can tell you no. I each one builds on the other. Leaders that cannot communicate effectively, you're not going to be successful. Okay. If you don't treat people with respect, guess what? You're walking alone. Yeah. You have to lean into your authenticity. What makes you you, right? Mm-hmm. For me, for many years, I was very shy. I get up in front of people and speak, all that. Why? Because I came to this country, I didn't know the language, so I have an accent,
right?
And I thought, oh, I speak funny, so people are gonna make me because of my experience when I was a kid,
right?
But guess what? I had a great mentor that told me, "Hey, dude, bro, I love your accent. That's what makes you you." So exactly. I leaned into that authenticity, vulnerability, being able to say, "I am here with you," and tell my story. Right. You have to be vulnerable. Leaders that are not vulnerable, you cannot be you don't connect with your team. If you can't connect with your team, you're leading no one. You're leading yourself.
I like this.
And then empathy, you have to be able to, as a leader, put yourself in someone else's shoes. So for example, in our workplace nowadays, we have a lot of single parents, right? So when you have a single parent, if you've never lived that experience, you probably want to listen in, because a single parent, there's days that kids don't want to get up. Yeah. They don't want to go to school, or they're not feeling well. Yeah. And guess what? Now the parent is trying to rush. They don't know what to do. They're going to call off. They're going to be late to work. And if you don't have that empathy, you're going to get rid of someone that might be one of your best employees because they couldn't be there on time, or couldn't be there, but that they have life. They're a single parent.
That's powerful. Yeah, that's powerful. That's some good stuff. Because you really think about that kind of stuff. It's like that. It's walking in somebody else's shoes, putting yourself in their shoes is that empathy, and then allowing that grace period through understanding, right, and patience to help for the relationship, so you can help the organization build and grow. All right, good stuff. So let me ask you this: what pitfalls or misconceptions your industry or the work that you do? What are those that you face on a daily basis?
I mentioned one earlier, a few minutes. Well, I don't know if it was a few minutes ago, but earlier with the fake gurus. A lot of people that don't have the educational background or the professional experience to be coaching or consulting.
Okay.
And that should stop, and people stop falling for that, because you give us a bad name, and then now I have to prove myself before you even have a conversation, or have people that just don't even want to have a conversation with you, because it's these people that that are fly by night.
You have a misconception of who you are and what you do before you even get a chance to explain your different and better story. Okay, I get that. Is there any others? Or is that the big one?
That's a big one right now that's going on. So we'll really concentrate on that.
What do you think? And what holds people back from achieving their goals?
Their mindset.
Okay.
It's 100% their mindset. So the way we're raised, our mindset, our subconscious gets trained. Yeah. That gets trained. So if you're always told that you're a loser, that you're no good, guess what? Every time you try to do something, your subconscious is going to tell you, hey, remember, you're a loser. You're not going to achieve that. So you have to retrain your mindset. You have to reprogram your subconscious, because when, like, we're having a conversation right now, we're only using different regions of our brains are the ones that we use to get the stored memories that we have and the stored information, right? So if our subconscious is full of negativity or limit, the way we limit ourselves, can be successful.
It sounds, I'm listening to you. I understand your background, how you, from a whole country to a major metropolitan location in the middle of the drug epidemic, and you found a way out. And now you're helping leaders, specifically in healthcare and organizations and things like that. My question for you is, there's hundreds of thousands, if not millions of kids that are impoverished and come with these backgrounds like that. If you can go and speak to those kids, how do you help them tap into what you had, that mental mindset that I can achieve anything despite my surroundings upbringing? How does that?
Tell them my story.
Yeah.
When you tell your story, guess what? I can tell my story. They're like, oh wow, he's one of us. Like,
right.
You lived it. Yeah, lived it. So tell your story. I tell my story, then I can connect. Now we have a common ground. Now I can build on that. So you gotta find that common ground. Because if you speak to them that, oh, I'm this successful guru or whatever, and you're just speaking down to them,
right?
They're not listening.
Right.
They're not listening.
Either speaking down to them, or what you're talking about is speaking directly to them by sharing your story, help them connect and them realize that they can see opportunities within you because you've sat in those same seats that they're sitting in.
Yep.
That's awesome, man. So what impact are you trying to make today?
Oh, man. So my first guiding principle, as I said at the beginning, is loving people, loving self. One of my other guiding principles, I have three of them. One of my other guiding principle is how do I impact people on a positive way every day? So every day I try to do something positive for someone, some way, shape, or form. I try to do that. The other thing is that I give back of my time, and I want to shout out a couple of organizations. Number one is the Alzheimer's Association. I'm a board member with the Oklahoma chapter Alzheimer's Association. It's a fight that is very near and dear to me because I had an uncle that passed away of Alzheimer's disease, and then now I'm going through that with my mom. She just was diagnosed with early onset dementia. So it's very personal for me, that fight. I am glad that I'm in a position where I can give back through those means. The other organization I want to shout out is Big Brothers Big Sisters. I have a couple of close friends that are big brothers, and I've always looked at that organization. Haven't had the opportunity to work with them, but that is something that is one of my to-do lists. So I wanna be able to help out doing being a mentor. I already do it,
right?
So I do a lot of mentorship, and not a lot of people know this because I don't brag. I don't go around saying, hey, now I have 3 mentors, 3 mentees.
Okay.
People that are paying me, these are mentees, people that need help. I take out of my day and I meet with them, and I guide them and I help them go through it. One of the people that I'm helping is actually 62 years old.
Okay.
And
wow.
she wants to stop the job that she's doing to start her own business, and guess what? I'm helping her.
Awesome. That is awesome. I love it. All right, so that's actually a segue into my next question then, because you got a lot going on. You still have a family that you're raising. Mm-hmm. You have a brand, your personal brand that you're still building. You have an organization that you're modeling out, and you're connecting with organizations and leaders. You're a mentor. You're sitting on boards. Tell me this, man. How do you find time to separate your personal from? Is that even a thing?
I'm glad you went there because I was going to go there.
All right.
Man, you're in my brain. You're in my brain.
All right. I'm learning from you, Doc.
I want to be like you when I grow up. Listen, man. One of the things that I hear a lot about, and you'll hear it too every day, is like, oh no, because professionally I'm this, personally I'm this, and
right.
there has to be, where
right.
you are who you are. I'm
okay.
sorry. You are you. It blends. One blends in the other. That is the reality because who we are. So what better way for you to be than just be authentic who you are, whether you're in a personal setting or a professional setting. Obviously, in a professional setting, there's some boundaries and there's some rules and regulations you have to stick by. But be yourself, man. When you are yourself, you being authentic, truly authentic, doesn't matter. Professional. And yes, there's only one way I know how to be is busy. Sorry.
Okay, got it. I know there's people way how to be, and that's the opposite of busy. So whatever that is,
yeah,
so opposite than that.
And I mean, on top of all of that, I have 3 up. So in the next, my goal is I couldn't finish them this year. Yeah. My goal is that next have 3 books that are going to get published.
That's a perfect segue because my next question I was going to ask you, you've been talking a little bit about your book, right? About your book, and if you want to talk more about some of these upcoming books, it's great. But I would love to know a little bit more about your book.
Yeah, so CRAVE, my leadership model, is also my values. So they're my values of how one should carry yourself. And for me, being able to do that and align that with a leadership model, I pour in a lot of my experiences, when I wrote the book, over 20 years of experience in different leadership positions, and then also my degree and all the research that's on there. That's the basis of my book, and it goes into detail. It talks about having the right mindset. So it talks about mindset. Doesn't go into a lot of details on it. But on the second part of the book that's coming up next year, we're going to get into the neuroscience and the neuroplasticity of. But yes, and then goes into each one. Communication. What's communication? Respect. What's respect? Authenticity, vulnerability, and empathy. And what does that look like from a leader perspective?
So, all right, I'm not going to put you on the spot, but when do you think that other book going to drop, man? It's going to be first quarter, second quarter, third quarter?
It'll be in the middle of the year, probably.
Middle year, okay.
Yeah, great. I still got a few other things that I have to touch on for the book, but I can't wait. I'm so excited because I'm a geek, man. I'm a nerd. Yeah. That's just who I love. Research. I love reading. I being able not only to learn new things, but try them, putting them into action. Does it actually work? Right. Yeah, so I'm not one of these that just, I'm going to learn all this stuff and it's just going to stay. No. Right. I'm good. It's here and now it's coming out.
That's awesome. All right, so what advice would you give somebody, another professional like yourself, I guess the young version of yourself, right? Looking to join the hustle, looking to go down a similar path that you went through as well.
Surround yourself with the right people that have gone through it. Okay. So look for mentors. You're not going to be successful unless you find the right mentors, man. You have to. If you're going to start your own business, right, you better put in a line item for expense for consultants, coaching to help you get to where you need to be at. Don't do it on your own. You don't know what you're doing, and you're going to have a lot of heartache and headache for no reason. Get the right people to help you, pay them accordingly, and you're going to be successful.
That's good advice. Man. Because I think too many times, and I don't know if it's a societal thing or what, but we feel like if we can't do it by ourselves, then we're not doing it right. And what I'm getting from you is that we grow through collaboration, partnership,
absolutely,
and with the help of mentors and coaches as well.
Absolutely. I mean, it's all about people. Surround yourself with the right people. A person that's successful, read their book. Right. It's the same theme.
Right.
Over and over and over again. Right. It's not hard. We make it hard because we think that, no, I'm going to do it different. I'm going to, but then you fail and you're like, oh man, what happened? Well, you should have just done it. Just empower yourself with a little bit of knowledge and get.
Let me ask you this question: is outside of work, is there anything you like to talk about? Because some people I already know you're leadership focused. I want to grow and I want to progress as a leader. But is there anything that you talk about outside of work, man? Any other topics?
I like sports and watching sports. I'm a foodie. I love going to try different foods. I love one of the things that I've been lately after COVID, through COVID, is going to different countries and not just going to a country and staying in a resort. No.
Right.
Going to another country, staying in Airbnb in the middle of the city and where the locals go, eat what they eat, drink what they drink.
The real experience.
The real experience. Yeah. So yeah, just that stuff. And I go into museums and stuff like that. But yeah, that's me, man.
I love you brought that up, that identifying and, being amongst other cultures, because we get so into our own, especially if you're from the United States. We think we have the greatest country ever, which I can't disagree with that. But there's a lot to be said about traveling, understanding other cultures, just your brain to open up so you're not so closed-minded.
Absolutely. I mean, some of these countries, my country, Dominican Republic, I mean, I'm glad I can go back now. So my dad, we were pardoned, what they call here. And so we're able to go back now the last 10 years. But even in our country, I mean, if you go to these third world countries, there's so much impoverished. Look at that, man, how those people live.
Right.
And then you'll have a different perspective on your life. You'll stop complaining.
Right.
I think everyone that lives here, we have it so good, man. No matter how bad you think it is, you have no idea until you go see that. Every 6 months, you should go see an impoverished area of another country. Then you'll get good perspective and you'll be like, shit, man, I have it good.
Exactly.
I'm not complaining.
Listen, as we're coming to a close, I've already in this conversation quite a bit, and I know other people are going to get a lot of it, but just to listen to you talk and share your story, tell me, man, do you actually have like a podcast or a social channel that you're doing stuff like this, your story with the rest of the world?
Absolutely.
Where people can kind of tap into you?
Yeah. So I have my YouTube channel. Go to my Amin Sanaia.com. So it's my name there. And there you'll have the links to all my social media channels. I have a YouTube channel. I have, I think about 150 videos now on there on leadership, man. A lot of them are leadership videos. There's about 30 or 40 podcast episodes. Again, the majority of them are on leadership because they're through the National Leaderology Association. But I also have the science ones with the Neuroplasticity Network. Check those out. So I have those podcasts. So go enjoy there and look at the work that we're doing there. Really good work.
Tell me about, and we'll close this out here in a minute. Tell me about a book that you would tell other people that they need to go and read.
Oh man, I have. Hold on. All right, I'll take my main man, John Maxwell.
Okay. What's so inspiring about this book?
The 21 Irresistible Laws. If you want to learn what has to go through, read that book. It tells you about just about everything you're going to run into leadership. So you base good foundation of the life of a leader. That is one of my favorite books. I have a lot of books. I mean, but that's just,
That's awesome. So you shared about how people get with you. To close us out here, is there any last parting words you want to share with the rest of the audience? Maybe it's inspirational words or it's constructive feedback, whatever, man. I'm just opening it up to you and just leave it to you so you can close us out here.
Sure. So for those of you that do want to get into leadership, just help yourself finding the right mentor, finding a coach, invest in yourself. So find the right person that can put you through a program that is going to elevate you to reach your maximum potential. But these are stuff that you have to invest. So it's your responsibility. Take yourself to the next level. Don't wait for an organization to do it for you. While it might be their responsibility, if they're putting you in a leadership position, you have to have that self-responsibility because that's knowledge you're going to take with you for the rest of your life.
That's good stuff. Hey, folks, welcome to another episode of Health Hustle. The grind meets growth in the world of healthcare. As you know, this ain't your typical podcast because I don't just bring you guests. I bring you the freshest, the livest guests from around the world who's dropping knowledge about their journey to success. And as you know, there's never a linear line. It's often we got to jump through hurdles. We got to go underneath garbage cans. We got to go around corners that are hidden. and our dark, and to find that light that we're looking for. And today we were blessed to have join us Dr. Amin Sanaia. He's a seasoned leadership expert, executive coach, and creator of CRAVE Leadership Methodology. With over 25 years of experience in leading operations as an executive, Dr. Amin combines practical leadership strategies with cutting-edge neuroscience through his specialization in NeuroLeadership. So thank you, Doc. I appreciate you joining us, dropping knowledge, sharing your story, and more importantly, your journey, but leaving us with positive aspirational words that we can grow and develop from. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for having me. And so that the audience knows, open invitation for Patrick to get on my podcast for the National Leaderology Association.
Let's go. I love it.